Tuesday, and finally it's Friday. That means it's going to be the season finale of television's hottest show. It's Upset Alert.
Oh, wow. You're not doing it next week.
Well, I will do it. I'm saying it's for the year.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
We operate by the calendar year
Got it.
for
My
Upset
apologies.
Alert.
Okay,
Alongside Greg Jennings, who's in for Chris Broussard. I'm Kevin Wildes. Nick?
Yeah.
For some reason, they're running Chiefs footage. A little spoiler alert.
Yeah, that does.
A little Easter egg.
I mean, you put the Chiefs on Upset Alert against the Texans, and it was mortifying for you.
What?
I mean, it was not even close.
Dusty, was that close?
You're not going
the
to
numbers
step
on
that
that?
same rake again. I know that much.
Did
Lost
not
by
win.
6 points.
Did not win in regulation. We start with the game of the night, Cowboys versus what was left of the Titans after injuries and strategic rest. Al Michaels loved it. Dak goes for 2 touchdowns to Dalton Schultz. That's the good news. Want to hear the bad news, Greg?
Yeah.
Also threw 2 interceptions to Byard. Dallas wins by 14, so we're happy? Kinda. Here's Dak.
To be able to play this position, you've got to have a short-term memory. Whether the interception you feel is your fault, not your fault, whether you throw it to the guy and lose out on points before half or not, you got to be able to turn the page and just move on. I mean, that's something that, honestly, I mean, I take pride in. Obviously, you're not trying to have that adversity or cause that adversity, but good or bad, I'm on to the next play, and that's just, I think that's an example of it there, and just not only me, but the whole team.
All right. Listen, the first pick was not Dak's fault.
Nope.
The first pick, there are different grades of kind of his fault, totally his fault, not his fault at all. First one, not his fault at all. It's a perfect pass that the tight end bounced to the Titans to Kevin Byard. But the second pick was terrible. And the second pick was his fault. And the lost exchange was at least partially his fault, which was the other turnover. But the second pick is the one I really want to focus on because, Greg, he telegraphed that pass. It was in a position where you were taking points off the board for your team, giving points to Tennessee right before the half, when Tennessee didn't even want to compete for a full game. You forced them to compete for a full game. And I am pleading with Dak Prescott, who now is tied for the league lead in interceptions with Derek Carr, who doesn't have a job or a locker, it seems, anymore, as they sent him home, in part because of the interceptions. You got to cut this part out. Because the Cowboys' edge, Greg, going into the NFC playoffs should be Dak Prescott.
Yeah.
Jalen Hurts has no experience. Brock Purdy has no experience. Brady's got all the experience in the world, but everybody thinks the team stinks. Kirk Cousins has minimal experience, and it's not good. Whoever the Washington is starting at quarterback has minimal to no experience, whether it's Wentz or Heineke. Obviously, Daniel Jones has no experience. Geno Smith has no experience. Dak is supposed to be the edge. The reason someone should right now, if they wanted to pick the Cowboys to win the conference, their number one argument should be, do they have the best quarterback, the healthiest best quarterback in the NFC playoff bracket? But not if he keeps throwing these boneheaded picks. And that second one was really bad. So, listen, you and I both said they should be able to dominate this game. I know they won by 14. It didn't feel particularly dominant.
No.
So I don't know that they should feel great. And Dak's got to clean that up, and he's running out of time to do it.
Yeah, you're exactly right. When you watch the game, we all wanted to see them play a clean game, both offensively and defensively. We didn't see any of that. Not only just with Dak, but even with their defense. Their defense didn't look great. They gave up a lot of passing yards to Josh Dobbs, who 8 days in, throwing all over the park.
Prior to yesterday, Josh Dobbs had 45 career yards.
Exactly. And the pass rush was kind of non-existent, but it's okay right now for Dak to throw these interceptions, and they still win, and him have those post-game interviews.
So do you want?
Because they win.
Yeah. Can I stop you, Greg? Mm-hmm. Do you want to hear like more? Woe is me. I gotta clean this up. I promise you, Tim Tebow style. I will never throw another interception again.
I don't even need to hear that. I know he means what he's saying.
But he's like, I take pride in forgetting about it. Like you keep forgetting about it because you keep on throwing interceptions.
It's just going to. It doesn't have the same effect. The more we hear this same type of commentary, the moment he throws a pick and he goes to the post-game interview, and it's like, I don't want to be throwing these interceptions. I got to be more mindful, but I move on. Yeah, you move on. But you're putting the ball into the possession of an opponent who then is going against your defense, who is second to last in giving up yards right now. The only other team, Detroit, in the last three games, they're second to last in giving up passing yards in the last 3 games. You can't do that right now against a defense that is struggling.
They're also, and I'll just add one more point. The Cowboys have allowed more points off interceptions than any team in the league. So when Dak does turn it over, the defense doesn't respond and hold him. So Dak's thrown 14 picks. The opponent has scored 60 points on those. Some context, Rodgers thrown 11 picks, so 3 fewer. But his defense has only allowed 19 points on those. So the Packers defense, when Rodgers is screwed up, has stepped up and helped him out. The Cowboys have not been able to do it. It's just, this is where the but with the Cowboys is going into the playoffs, you still have, or at least I still have, the voice in the back of my head saying Mike McCarthy. It's Mike McCarthy back there, and I know that's your guy, Greg. And then you have the quarterback who, the thing he had done best throughout his career was protect the football, and all of a sudden, it's every single game this season, this season, that he's thrown the ball at least 25 times, he's turned the ball over. Like, that should make you at least slightly nervous about their postseason hopes.
Greg, can I ask you a question about the types of interceptions these are? Because Mac Jones, the baby goat, dirtiest player in football, was throwing the ball to the wrong team, came back from injury, and it was real emphasis on, okay, we're going to play ball security. But the offense got far more conservative. So now Dak is throwing a bunch of interceptions, but they do put up a ton of points. Is that the devil's bargain that you're willing to make? Like, you know what? Number 1 scoring team in the league, but Dak occasionally gives it away. We don't want to pull the reins in, run the Cooper Rush offense, and not score enough points.
Yeah, it's risk reward, right? Like, if you're going to throw the ball around, you're running the risk of turning the ball over or throwing interceptions. It goes up, obviously. But with Dak Prescott, he's always thrown a lot. Like,
and he did,
outside of his first year, Dak Prescott in the second year, he's thrown the ball around a lot. And he's never really looked like this and never thrown interceptions like this as consistently week after week after week. I believe this is like his 4th, 5th, or 6th game in a row of throwing an interception.
Yeah.
Like, you can't win meaningful games and you're losing the takeaway battle. Like, you can't do that consistently against good teams that you're talking about that are going to be in the playoffs. This team is a playoff team. You talk about fearing a team like the Bucks or the Panthers if you have to go down there and play in one of those spots. You can't turn the ball over.
Well, and where I'll give Dak credit is even after, if you just looked at the passes he threw in the second half, which was after he had a 3-turnover first half, he is not shying away from the tight window throws. The touchdown pass to Dalton Schultz was a nice pass. Dalton was covered. He threw it, lofted it right over the defense. He hit CeeDee Lamb and Michael Gallup, both of which on different, I think, 3rd down conversions where they are tight window throws and he fits it in there. He believes in his ability to go out and make these plays, and I give him credit for it. But it's not great plays being made by the defense. The Byard pick, the second one, he was just staring his receiver down, and Byard, who's a really good player in this league, said, okay, maybe you're going to trick me by pump faking and going elsewhere, but I think you're just telegraphing where you're going to throw. And that's the margin of error for the Cowboys because the defense, once again, another game where Lawrence Taylor doesn't get a sack. They might take him out of the Hall of Fame, guys. Lawrence Taylor, I mean, he's got...
You were saying that.
No.
You're like, you know what, I'm going to dial it back a little bit.
No, I never said he was Lawrence Taylor. I said he looked like the defensive player of the year, and I said that before generational player. I believe that can be true and not be the greatest defensive player ever. But let's not argue about Michael Parsons right now, who's not going to win defensive player of the year because Nicky Bosa is. Because the defense is not wreaking the havoc it was earlier in the season, the offense, there is more of a responsibility on the offense, and you're right, they are producing yards and points, but they can't average 2 turnovers a game and expect that to be the recipe for a deep playoff.
All right, let's look at Super Bowl odds. Cowboys have the 6th best odds to win the Super Bowl, plus 1,100. Well, the Bills right there. Is this a misprint?
No.
Hey, Dust, did you double-check this?
They've been the favorites all year. Vegas loves them. That's fine.
Oh, I thought I was going to yell at Dusty.
Vegas loves them.
Chiefs and Eagles tied at 2, 49ers, Bengals, and the Cowboys. So, Greg, do you consider the Cowboys, legit Super Bowl contenders?
Yeah, they're in the NFC. Like, they have a legitimate chance. You talked about it. They have arguably one of the best quarterbacks that's going to be playing in the postseason in that conference. But for me, it's all about what they didn't have last night and what they better have moving forward consistently, and that's Tony Pollard.
Oh.
Like, Tony Pollard is very impactful for this team. Just to put some context in it, in the games that they have lost, Tony Pollard has either not played or he's been limited in touches. And their explosive plays as far as offense is non-existent. That can't happen. We watched them last night, and the one thing that we've seen them do when Tony Pollard is in the game is have explosive plays consistently or be able to run the ball. They weren't